Good evening, everybody. So I'm going to give this talk on management of recurrent parotid tumors, but I guess I have to again place my appreciation for the group, Kaustubh, Rajendra, Dushant, Dakshish, Pareen, Purvi. Great show. Great show. You all have evolved into a great group. We are proud to be here. We are proud to read and see how your group has been growing. And I just hope we could duplicate this model in other institutions of our country. So my brief is simple. It's management of recurrent tumors. Kaustubh has already shown an elegant video. KK showed something, but I'm going to give you my philosophy. So parotid tumors are rare tumors. MSKC 35 years, less than 3,000. That means less than 100. When I used to be at Tata's, not many moons back, less than 200 cases per year. There are diverse histologies, greater than 20 types. So literature is sparse for primary tumors. For recurrent tumors, it's still sparse. There are no meta-analysis, there are no systematic review. So what I'm going to do is share a little bit of philosophy, pull out some things from guidelines, and we could discuss. What's the problem? Look at the Dutch Head and Neck Oncology Cooperative Group. Of all malignant salivary gland tumors treated with surgery, without radiotherapy, recurrence rates is 17% at 5 years, 22% at 10 years. So you will see about 10 to 20, 25% of your tumors with recurrence. In my own practice, 40% of salivary tumors that I do are redo surgeries. Someone has done something outside and then they come to me. And I think the two main reasons are that the inadequate initial diagnosis and inadequate understanding of the biology of salivary. And we could see that going up and down grade. Do we need it? We don't need it. When do we do neck? So there's a lot of ambiguity because of the sparseness of these tumors. The British idiom is the second bite of the cherry. That means you can have a bite again, do something the second time, recurrent tumors. But I always believe that the first bite of the cherry is the sweetest. So you must put your best foot forward the first time you see a parotid tumor. And that's why prevention is better than cure. 3 important points. Establish the diagnosis, proper biopsy. Do appropriate imaging, and I think Shiva and the rest of the group have all covered this. Sonos, Ankita, Sono, CT, MRI, query PET. And lastly, do appropriate initial surgery. So again, you must have tissue diagnosis. The bottom 2 references are from the ASCO guidelines. Shiva put it up in his presentation. Eaton showed a change of 19%. But I like this particular paper by Joe Atty. Joe Atty was a surgeon in New York. In 1992, in a general unit, he looked at all parotid tumors that came. Now, most of us practice in onco-specific units, but if you're in an ENT department, you're in a general surgery department, and you do an FNAC for tumors that come in and around the year, you will have a change in plan in a third of your patients. So you must do an FNAC, otherwise you go and operate in a hurry and you get scars and then you have to do revision surgery after that. If the FNAC is not useful, you can do a core biopsy. I know the indications are less, but there's nothing to get scared on a core biopsy. We usually do it for very advanced tumors when we're looking for alternative modalities of therapy, doing NGS, molecular to confirm diagnosis. Very high sensitivity, very high specificity, and the risk of complications is low, 1.6%, and only 1 patient had a temporary paralysis. So my threshold to do a core biopsy is not too high. If I need it, it will change my management. Usually lymphoma, other things, I'll do the core biopsy. And the best investigation, and the investigation of choice is the MRI. Old article, but look at all the parameters, compelling p-values. They are hypointense on T2, so you don't need grade. So when I know this before I go into surgery, I know what I'm going to do if the nerve is encased, if the deep lobe has to be involved, if the nodes have to be removed. I may not trouble my pathologist too much. Ill-defined margins, compelling p-value, a diffuse growth, infiltration into the subacute tissues, and lymphadenopathy. These are all foolproof that you're dealing with a malignancy of probably aggressive background. And lastly, appropriate surgery to prevent recurrence. Complete excision with clear margins, preserve function, no role for nodulectomy, prevent rupture of the tumor, commonest cause of recurrence, commonest cause, extracapsular adequate parotidectomy in appropriate case selections, and we've debated extensively through the morning, and when needed, do a total, sacrifice the nerve or the nerve branches, and do appropriate neck dissection. So good biopsy, good imaging, principles of surgery, your recurrence rates will be lower than what the Dutch have reported. Now where did this, no, don't need, okay. Now what is the management of recurrent tumors? Surgery is the mainstay of treatment. There's limited role for radiotherapy. Radiotherapy in parotid tumors or in salivary tumors only in the adjuvant setting or in the metastatic setting. There's no role of chemotherapy. There are a lot of publications on HER2 positive, androgen receptor positive, but it's still evolving. So if a primary tumor surgery is the mainstay, radiotherapy doesn't work, chemo has no role, we come a full circle. So we're back to surgery again for recurrent tumors. So when a patient comes to you with a recurrent tumor, evaluate for surgery. Now there are two clinical scenarios in this setting. One is loco-regional recurrence without metastasis and with metastasis, regardless of the prior treatment. So if it's without metastasis, patient should be offered revision surgery and appropriate surgical reconstruction. Remove whatever is required, reconstruct, surgery. If it is with distant metastasis, you can still offer a palliative resection because the majority of salivary tumors grow very slowly. But there's a caveat. The metastasis should be oligometastatic. The metastasis should not be rapidly progressing. If you've got 2 serial scans in your follow-up and you saw metastasis, now you've got loco-regional with metastasis. If they've doubled, you may not operate palliative. And lastly, surgery should not be morbid and affect the quality of life. A patient in cancer doesn't like to die or see a fungating tumor. Lady with a breast cancer doesn't want fungation on the chest wall. Similarly, a parotid tumors don't want fungation in and around here. So if it's a slow growing metastatic disease, consider surgery as long as the quality of life. Don't remove half the temporal lobe of the brain, the entire bone, the ear, and say that I removed it and we were told that you could do palliative surgery. Now the cardinal principles of treating a recurrent parotid tumor. Primary goal, revision with clear margins. It carries significant functional and cosmetic morbidity. Therefore, carefully plan your surgery. You must have a realistic assessment of the probability of an R0 resection. Residual disease or positive margins portend a very poor outcome. So you should be real that I'm going to get an R0 resection. Don't extend aggressive surgeries to other compartments. Many people I've seen do temporal bone excision and have positive margins in the parotid bed. That's not excusable. So don't extend to another region unless you have a clear R0 on this side. And have collaborative specialists at hand. That means have your max fax, have your reconstructive surgeon, have your otologist if you don't do temporal bone. So have the right specialists at hand. A comprehensive neck dissection 1 through 5 for all N plus in node positive patients in the recurrent setting. Now these are debatable and there's lot of data, but in the interest of time I cannot go through that, but by and large the dictum is a comprehensive neck dissection. Neck dissection is encouraged in the N0 setting, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, that depends on what you want to do. Again, we can discuss it in the discussion time. Invariably, you open the neck for a flap, you need microvascular. So you must sample nodes. My philosophy, 2, 3, sometimes 4. Isolated 5 can be 11 to 15%, but it's never isolated in the absence of 2, 3, 4. And 1, generally when you trace the marginal mandible, you've done half of 1. It's very easy to lop off the submandibular gland and come out. But it's 2, 3 and 4. And always adjuvant RT, re-radiotherapy should be considered if they've already had radiotherapy and lower threshold. And if the patient has had radiotherapy, today we are preferring heavy particles, proton, and there's a lot of data now coming on carbon 12. So people are veering towards that. In the old days, neutron was supposed to be better, but the radiation oncologists, we can discuss that maybe in the panel as we go along. Now what's the main problem of treating these recurrent tumors? Facial nerve. Here is a chapter by Pierre Nicolai and Robert Witt. It came in Esley and Bradley's book. This is a chapter from there. Look at the incidence of post-operative facial nerve paralysis after primary surgery. 91 to 64%, 0 to 39. Looking at data. Now look at the temporary and permanent when you do recurrent pleomorphic adenoma parotid surgery. It is 90 to 100 temporary, 11.3 to 40 permanent. Sacrifice of the facial nerve with microsurgical nerve grafting has been reported to occur in about a third of patients, 40 to 30% when you do recurrent surgery. So you have to be real that the recurrent laryngeal nerve is at damage. So how do you look for the recurrent laryngeal nerve? The facial nerve. There are 4 methods to look for the nerve. A posterior method, which we all do. An inferior method, which I discussed with you all in the morning, that I take the vein and come up from down. That's why you get that fasciovenous plane. All those nerves come into this vein when you lift it up, so you know. There's an anterior approach, which KK elegantly showed today, and there's a superior approach. You can come from the superficial temporal. But by and large, the most popular is the anterior, the retrograde approach. And you must follow a branch back. The 3 branches that are followed are the temporal, the buccal, and the marginal. Marginal is least done. Deepak very elegantly told you there are 2 to 3 nerves, flimsy nerves. You might damage it and that smile will go. The most consistent branch, surface anatomy, is the buccal branch. And I urge you all, when you all do oral cancer and you're taking out the oral cancer, to follow the parotid duct. Most people on my team do that, and you'll see the upper buccal branch. Even when I do an oral cancer, I save that branch. The branch is very consistent, and the parotid duct line, which you all must have been asked in anatomy surface marking, was described a century ago. It's a line that joins the tragus, antitragus in the middle to the middle half of the upper lip. That's where the parotid duct occurs. So draw this line, look at the parotid duct, look a centimeter above, in the vicinity you'll find the upper buccal, and go backwards and you'll get your main trunk. So that's what I do. You can do marginal, you can do temporal, there's no fight on this. You can do superior approach, inferior approach. Mine is retrograde buccal. I don't get it, I do the inferior approach. Come from the vein, come up, and I usually find the nerve well. Should we do monitoring? There are many meta-analyses. I put Esley's, there's Sood's as well. There's nothing. But Prof. Joshi Pura said this morning, and he's organizing secretary, that he would do it for recurrent cases. Where is he? He said that. So he said, Kaustubh encouraged us to do it. It's psychologically better. It's better. So my philosophy as well, I agree with him, is to do nerve monitoring when you do recurrent. Kaustubh showed it very elegantly in his case as well. You couldn't see the nerve. He just punched where he thought it was and it bleeped, and he was able to save the nerve in the doctor patient. So when you do recurrent, please have the facial nerve monitor in addition to other people who can help you on the team. And most importantly, don't always rush. And I put these slides up as the discussion was evolving this morning and afternoon. Here is a gentleman, 60-year-old, right parotid, 2 months, went outside, did surgery, did something half-heartedly, came to me with a low-grade mucoepidermoid. You can see that little scar there, it's barely seen. So people said the whole lobe is there, let's operate. This was a couple of years back. My whole unit said we'll operate this guy. It's a low-grade mucoepidermoid and we must operate him. Here is the scan. It just said no residual, suspicious of post-operated inflammation. But they were worried. They said it's a cancer, sir, we must operate it. Did nothing. He sees me for 7 years with no problem at all. So don't rush into the TX tumor. The chance of screwing up the nerve, I told you, temporary, could be as high as 90 to 100%, maybe not with such a small scar, but you don't have to rush. The margin in a nerve, in a parotid, is 1 millimeter. No one knows what is adequate margin. So don't get panicky with this carcinoma and recurrent and I have to run back. If you see a residual tumor, operate. So when KK operated and said there was no tumor, I wouldn't operate. I would establish histology first and then operate my patient for recurrent tumor. So you have to understand the biology. And I said at the beginning, biology, inadequate understanding is one of the reasons that we do 40% of our work as redo. I'm going to end well in time. That recurrent parotid tumors are a difficult problem. You can prevent them. Appropriate surgery when possible with rehab and generous use of adjuvant treatment is what we have to do. So thank you, Kaustubh and group again for this opportunity. And I'll be happy to take questions or after the panel.